Okay, we're going to be building my shopping list, and it's going to show the number of items, and you can add items by typing them at the bottom and clicking the add button. Click that red X next to each item to remove it. There you go. You can add chocolate, you can add oranges, whatever you type you can add, and X it out. And there you go. In the next 10 minutes, we'll be building this shopping list example here. For example, number 1. There we go. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. Yes, so we're going to need 3 files. We'll start with an index.html file. We'll get our style.css file, and we'll have an app.js file. These 3 files in Sublime Text as our code editor. That's all we need. Okay, starting in the HTML file, we're going to call this, the title is the shopping list. And in the head tag, we're going to have 2 scripts for JavaScript and 2 links for styling with CSS. Okay, just to put some important comments there. The first script will be thousands of lines of code of AngularJS. That's what we're using to help enhance our JavaScript. Okay, and we're going to also have thousands of lines of code of Bootstrap to enhance our CSS. That's to make our style and our buttons and our table look really nice. Okay, and then we are going to have, here will be our JavaScript file. That will go right there. And here we'll have our CSS file. Excellent. Okay. Very good. And we're just going to write style.css in the reference there. And we're going to add the source here to connect it to the app.js file. Very good. Just including the link. There we go for Bootstrap. Okay, and here is the code for Angular. That's Angular. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now we're going to jump over to the app.js file, and we're going to have a variable. It's going to be app equals angular.module, shopping list app, and some square brackets, and then we'll get started with our controller. And then the name for our controller, where we'll put all our Angular code, will be list controller. There we go, list controller. Don't forget your quotes. And we're gonna have a function that passes in the scope, $scope, like we always do. Okay, and now we're gonna do scope.testing to see if Angular is working. If AngularJS is working, you should see this message. Perfect. Okay, so let's get set up here. Now, what we have to do next is we gotta take our module name and pass it into the ng app, shopping list app. And then whatever we put for the controller name, list controller, we're going to pass on the body. So ng controller is list controller. And then we're going to take our testing and we're going to put that in the body, and we're going to put that in double curly brackets to testing. Oh, and we see our message when we run our code if AngularJS is working. Okay, so it's working. So let's get started on HTML. Okay, we're going to have a table. We're going to have 1 row, and in that row, we are setting up 3 columns. Excellent. And, oh yeah, you know what? We need a title. So we're going to have H1, so we're going to have some big letters, and then we'll have a row. So we're going to say example number 1 with Angular Mikey. That's me. Okay, very good. Refresh that page. Okay, now over on our Angular. Get rid of that scope.testing. And now we're going to go into scope.list. We're going to start with 3 items in an array. Don't forget square brackets for an array. And the 3 items on the starter list are milk and cheese and eggs. There we go. That's our list. Excellent. Okay, and we have to now, to get that to show up on our web page, we're going to add an ng repeat, item and list. And the second thing we're going to have is the item in curlies, and then we're going to have $index in curlies. That will put the numbers, but we're not starting 0, 1, 2, we're going 1, 2, 3. So don't forget to add 1 on the first TD, the first column. Okay, now over in the styling, we have a table, and then we'll have our row, and then we'll have our column pieces. So skip the table, skip the row. Let's start styling those TD items there. So we got a width, we got a font size, and we'll add a border, and now it will start to look like a fancy list. Nah, I don't know, 10 pixels blue. Let's do 3 pixels solid gray. There we go. Now we got our shopping list app going. Okay, text align. Oh yeah, don't forget to center your text. There we go, to center our text. And now we're going to add some padding. Excellent. Add some padding there. There we go. Now it's looking good. Okay, now, so we don't need a TR, but we need a TR hover. So when you hover over a particular row of our list, the milk or cheese or eggs row, we're going to have a background gray, and we're going to have, there we go, and the color, meaning the font, will be white. Okay, hop back over to your index.html, and we're going to add the title shopping list under our, there we go, perfect. Okay, there's the shopping list title. And now we need an input, and we're going to have a type as a text. So we're going to have a little text input there. And we are also going to have, let's have a little dividing row there, a little line there, and we're going to have a button next to our text. This button we're going to give the class, this is Bootstrap here, so we're going to give btn, makes it a button, and btn success makes it a nice green button, add a plus sign in the button. Okay, now in the input, we're going to add an ng model, which allows us to catch that new item when you type it in. And on the button, we're adding an ng click to make it so you can add an item. You're going to make a function now in the Angular. Okay, so we can now add an item, and the item will be called new item. So we're going to have a function on something, let's call it Z. And what we're doing here is we're going to have a scope.list.push. That just adds whatever Z is to the end of the array. So you type in fish, click the plus sign, and adds fish. Click corn, write in corn and click it, and you'll add corn. Okay, very good. And now we're going to, oh yes, so we want the new item to equal nothing. So after you do corn, then it will delete the word corn. Very important. Okay, back in the styling. We've got a little bit more work to do in the styling. We're not having a table or row styling so much. So, but we need an input styling. So let's make font size a little bigger. There we go. Ooh, that's too big. Maybe 300 pixels. Okay, too big. 200 pixels. There we go. Oh, perfect. Okay. Looks good. So now we will type it, and let's make the color green. So you type it in green, you push the green button, and you add it to your shopping list. There we go. Pretty simple app there. Add some padding. Let's push the word fish a little bit over. Whatever you type's a little bit over. Okay, now our button. Our button looks good, but let's maybe change the width a little bit and change the height a little bit and a little bit bigger, a little bigger because we're going to need those red X's. Okay, don't forget in the input, maybe let's make the height a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now we're looking really professional. Okay, very good. That's just some practice with styling, CSS, and Bootstrap. Okay, now we're going to write add instead of plus sign, make it a little nicer. So we can add fish. And yeah, there we go. Okay, and now in the last column of our table, we're going to have a button with the class btn-danger. That makes a red, nice button. Same size and shape that we made in the styling for the green button. Put an X in all those buttons. Okay, the X will not work yet until we copy something like an ng click. So toss in an ng click, and we're going to have a function called remove. Remove the item. There we go. So every red X, when you click it, it removes the item. Hop over to our app.js file, and we're going to make a function of scope.random is a function that takes Y. And we're going to make a new variable to remove item. And removing the item is scope.list.indexOf whatever y, whatever we put in above, and then scope.list.splice. This is a JavaScript thing. IndexOf is JavaScript. Splice is JavaScript. The idea here is whatever you click on, whatever red button you click on, the computer will know that you're on that row, and then it's going to remove item comma 1 means it's going to, whatever the remove item row is, and it's only going to remove one item from your array. Okay, we're moving fast here. Back over to index.html. Final touches is let's have the number of items at the top. So what goes in those question marks? What we need is the list, which is the name of our array, dot length in curly braces, so it will now calculate the length of our array. And let's make that a little big, throw in some HTML tags, and excellent. So now the 3 is a little bigger. Add corn, and now we have 4 items as we test it out. Add fish, and we have 5 items. Notice that there are 5 items. When you remove an item, it works. When you add an item, it adds it. There we go. So let's add oranges to the list. We'll now have 3 items left on our list. Excellent work. Very good. Oh, can't go wrong without having some cookies. And you know what? It looks like we have that numbers working. The X is working, the add is working, the layout's working, and we are done. Thanks for joining us.